On today's show, the San Diego Padres get a much-needed series win over their arch nemesis, dare I say, next to the Dodgers, the Philadelphia Phillies, as we head into the All-Star break.
You are Locked On Padres, your daily San Diego Padres podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of Locked On Padres podcast, which is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day for Monday, July 14th. As always, I'm your host with sometimes the most, Javier Reyes, and I've been covering this team for almost 6 years now, not just for this podcast, but also various other outlets, including JustBaseball.com, chief among them. Today's show, guys, is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Go check that out, and go check me out on the socials at Javipeno, Javiipeno, on Twitter/X and Blue Sky to reach out with any questions, comments, or concerns you might have. Today's show, guys, we are rocking and rolling with a weekend recap, just giving some quick thoughts on what was a great series for the Padres, that they won the same way that they kind of always do, right? And we're going to talk about that. Then we're talking a little bit about Cruise Schoolcraft, who I still have to learn a little bit more about, and then Adrian Morejon potentially making history, and then answering some of your questions, because it is the Monday Mailbag show. So without further ado, let's get started. The Padres lose the final game of this series, unfortunately, but they were close in every single game, and that's kind of how Padres ball has been going of late. In fact, the last 10 games that the Padres have won has been with a save or a walk-off involved, right? So they've looked really, really like a little bit better, I think, lately, but it is also true that they are relying heavily on their bullpen. Thankfully, though, their bullpen came through. They weren't unable to get the win yesterday, but want to give a shout out to Nick Pivetta, 6 2/3, 0 earned runs. Only 1 run was allowed, and it was unearned after throwing errors from Luis Campusano and May Machado. The Arise one shouldn't have even been his. Probably should have been Iglesias, who, got to the ball, but it said it was Arise. Whatever. 2 walks and 8 Ks. Pavetta's been awesome. And the Phillies are the type of team that I could see hitting him up a little bit, but it was nice to just see him, go out and about and ball out yet again. He's only given up 1 earned run over his last 3 starts. His ERA is now sitting at 2.88. Was he an all-star snub? A little bit. I mean, in fairness, the voting maybe ended before we had the chance to potentially get our guy in, but there were some other guys deserving. Christopher Sanchez of the Phillies, for those who didn't hear, the Phillies literally paid him his all-star bonus. That's how much he got snubbed because of the dumb all-star, 1 representative rule. I think it's dumb. What can I say? But really great start for Nick Pivetta. My bold prediction was that he'd be an all-star. It didn't come true, but he certainly performed like an all-star. Just awesome stuff. 28% strikeout rate, and as many innings as he's gone. I just wanted an innings eater. I think that's what the Padres wanted, and they got one with upside. And while, yes, his salary will go up next year, it's going to be about what he should be getting paid, which is about $20 million, or is it $18 million? I forgot what exactly it is next year, instead of the $1 million discount they have this year. It's a weird contract that they gave him, but one of the signings of the offseason. Can't thank him enough. He's been absolutely sensational. Padres are unable, though, to get the win in this one, despite the fact that they did pretty good. Adrian Morejon gives up his first earned run in like 28 innings. But that was it, basically. The Padres just couldn't get past Christopher Sanchez or the rest of the Phillies bullpen. I thought Arise had the hit at the end of the game, though. I really did. I thought he had it. For a second, but unfortunately, no dice. The Saturday game, look. This is the Jackson Merrill game. We have been waiting for so long. Huge weekend for Jackson Merrill. Yes, it is basically just in this one game, but Merrill got moved all the way down in this lineup to 6th, which isn't like bad. I'm actually just in general a fan of Schiltz. For a manager that has been a little bit conservative in terms of how he operates about things, and I think rightfully so. I really do like the way he defends his guys and the way he does give some reason, maybe not everything, but he'll be like, well, I did this, and you guys would be complete. So I like that he's got a little bit of that spice to him for sure. But I like that he's willing to do some changes, which I think wasn't necessarily something that we saw last year. Not that they had to. The lineup was incredible last year, but nonetheless deserves a lot of credit for how he's managed his team this year, considering how bad the offense has been. But Jackson Merrill, 2 for 4 with 2 home runs in this game, ends up giving them the win. 3 RBIs in total. Love to see it, right? He tied the game. He's the one that gave them. He tied the game twice, actually, I think, in this one. So shouts to Jackson Merrill. Look, I think it's just important to mention, and we have some questions that are coming up in the mailbag section about him. I just think it's important to remember that a lot of his power came in the second half, and this is a player that was not expected to tap into his power very early on. That part of his game last year was surprising. His ability to play in center field also a surprise, as well as he did, right? But the batted ball stuff, everyone was like, this guy's a pro hitter. Didn't realize he was going to hit into the power, so don't be shocked if he's just having a little bit of a sophomore slump. That's basically all to report there, but just shout out to Yu Darvish, who tried, right, 4 2/3, gives up 4 earned runs on one big Edmundo Sosa double, or a single it was, that kind of cleared the bases to a degree. That stunk, right? Schilt ended up trusting him, but he's still working his way up. So do I disagree with that move? Not pulling him out? I actually don't, because the bullpen has been taxed. I just mentioned they've won their last 10 basically by a run, or at least 3 runs in safe situations or whatnot. They have not gotten a lot out of their offense, so I don't blame him for being like, if you could just get this one out, I preserve my bullpen a little bit, that'd be great. And it was part of why the Padres had to send down one of their great starters from game 1, Mr. Ryan Berger. Just to transition real quick, 4 2/3 of that one, only 2 earned runs. What I think was impressive though, 7 strikeouts, does give up 2 home runs. That was unfortunate. 1 from Castellanos and 1 from Schwarber. Both understandable to a degree, especially the latter. But he's looked pretty sharp. He's actually looked like a guy that could be somebody. And they ended up having to send him down because they needed Alec Jacob called up just for some bullpen reinforcements. So I'm not reading too much into that. I think Bergert has been honestly better than what I expected in a lot of ways. I just thought the velo, I didn't know if the changeup would work necessarily as well at the major league level, but he is a friend of the show, so I am rooting very hard for him. So shout out to Ryan Berger. Great stuff. He'll be back up with this team, I think, before we know it. I think eventually, like, it's between him and Kolek, in my opinion, for that 5th spot, because I think Randy Vasquez could decline significantly going forward. But it's just nice to know that you have that guy, right? The farm system just slowly, the Padres depth slowly showing some signs of life, at least on the pitching side. So great stuff from him, getting the 7 Ks, and then the bullpen went absolutely nuclear. Also, good weekend for Tatis, right? 2 for 3 on Friday's game with a stolen base and a walk. In Saturday's game, didn't do as much, went 1 for 4, but then in Sunday's game, 2 for 3 again with a stolen base and 2 walks. So again, a big part of Tatis's game for a while now has been the walks. That has been a big part of his offensive production, but nice to see the hits, nice to see a lot of them going a little bit more in the air. Love to see that. He's still a good player, but we're still seeing, does he have that MVP bat in him, or is he just a really solid, really great all-around player? I don't know. We'll have to see, I guess, in the second half. And we'll have to see what else your boy is going to talk about on this show in the second segment of this pod. But first, a word from one of our sponsors. And that sponsor is our very good friends over at the Time of Games, folks, because we've all been there, right? You're logging on early, waiting forever for your tickets to go on sale, and then you lose your spot for some show you've been dying to see, whatever it is. And for a game even, maybe you lose your spots there. Live music should be about making memories, not dealing with the stress of ticket shopping. And that's where Game Time comes in. Game Time makes getting tickets faster and easier than ever. Prices actually drop as it gets closer to showtime. And you can save up to 60% off. That's crazy with their killer last-minute deals. It's great. It's really great. They give you panoramic seat views as well. They have zone deals, so you just let Game Time kind of pick for you in a certain zone, and then you get a little bit of discount, so that's really cool. Game Time's awesome. I use it all the time whenever I'm going to events. So take the guesswork out of buying concert and show tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. But again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed with Game Time. And just like that, everybody, we are back here thriving and vobbing because I'm a punk rocker. Yes, I am. Those who know, on this podcast, guys. Go check me out on Twitter/X and Blue Sky at Javiipeno, JAVIIPENO. No more major thoughts, really, because Jim Grease, Big Jim of the postcast for this show, he does these live shows after every game. Everybody go check them out. He did some this weekend, and I sometimes go on there as well. He's going to start getting a little bit more active, posting on socials and stuff like that too, but he's been doing a great job just giving you that instant content right after the game, so go check that out. I guess the only other thing that's worth mentioning from this series is 2 things. Number 1, Only thing worth mentioning, and then I say there's two things. That's funny. Whatever. First of all, the Padres have been bad. That's why I mentioned in the opening, what's it called, cold open of this show, that they have been very bad against the Phillies. Outside the Dodgers, they kind of have been their nemesis. 8-18 heading into the series against them since 2021, and they won 3. So great to see, or 1-2, got a series win against them. Really just shut down their pitching, or their batting. With this bullpen and with their starting pitching, even if it didn't last forever in some cases, like Darvish and like Berger, the latter of which actually really pitched great and I think has some potential. I'm starting to really buy a little bit of stock on Ryan Berger. Love my guy, friend of the show. Just a great bullpen showing, right? The bullpen, the 4 horsemen, as Mike Schilt calls them. Excellent weekend. Also, worth pointing out, Luis Campusano got called up again because why not? And what does he do? He goes 0 for 3 with a strikeout. Was it 2 strikeouts? 2 strikeouts, leaving 3 on base. Not as bad as Iglesias, leaving 6 on base. But I don't feel like I need to talk about Campy more, if I'm being honest with you. I do think that he should probably be playing and have that spot over Maldonado. But it has gotten to the point where even the Padres, a team that I don't trust with offense and building at the depth of a lineup, I just have not trusted them with that in a long time. The bottom line is it does get to a point where they have to know that, right? Like that Maldonado has been so bad behind the plate. That thing, I just think that can't be. They're like, as Jake Arriani on Friday said for my Everydayers to know, was like, Schilt is like, I don't want to mess up the pitching potentially. That's something that I don't necessarily agree with, but every time they bring in Campy, he does poorly. The only time we saw him do well was 2023, where he was a really positive batter. It was worth like 1.2 wins above replacement, whatever it was. It was really good, along with that weird Gary Sanchez year. But that's the point as well, by the way. Gary Sanchez was very weirdly great with the Padres, and then he never replicated that ever again. Basically, all to say that he does not have a hit this year. He's got 222 on base. Yeah, he's drawn some walks. But it's just every time they give him a chance, he's bad. But I also do agree that I think that you can believe in two things. I think you could believe they haven't given this guy a chance. Maldonado stinks. Why isn't he playing? And you can also believe, hey, it's been a while, right? Maybe they actually know something we don't. And then another thing, which is just, I don't know. I think that you could believe as well that the Padres really messed this up. That they did not handle his development well. You know? Maybe he's just Crash Davis and destined to only do good in AAA. I get it. But I do think that they messed up his development. I don't know why one of your first appearances in the majors is pinch hitting to go up against Kenley Jansen. What do you guys think is going to happen? Right? And then you call him up, and even sometimes when he's had good games, he gets a hit or two, they send him back down or don't start him the next day. I think they've handled this horribly, and at this point, I think he's just trade bait at all. If I'm another team, I give up my 38th ranked prospect and just say, let's just try it. Right? If you have nothing to lose, I would try Campy, but maybe I'm wrong. Padres, MLB draft was yesterday, and they selected with their first round pick a name that is what sounds like the name of a character who plays baseball in a book that is not about baseball, in like a YA, school novel or whatever, and then there's some like pitcher on the side. You know what I mean? His name's Cruise Schoolcraft, right? First pitcher. Look, first round pitcher, I should say. My only take on this is that the peripherals aren't insane. Nothing crazy that I've seen. Doesn't seem like he's a guy that has high velo stuff which is okay. But more interestingly, it is the 9th straight year the Padres have used their first rounder on a high schooler. I think this is just what Preller likes to do, which is just take high upside high schoolers before maybe everybody else figures out about them, build out his farm depth, etc., and potentially trade those pieces. I wouldn't be surprised if they move Cash Mayfield even more now, right? Or they move Schoolcraft. I just think that they're trying to draft high upside guys for teams that need high upside guys, and just getting some current players, right? From rebuilding teams, they will gladly take high upside guys because you just never know because they're rebuilding and they have nothing. So maybe that's what they're doing here. So shout out to Cruz. I hope that he turns out a little bit better. And I just don't want to underestimate anybody that Preller drafts. But again, nothing crazy from what I've seen so far. But then again, the Padres did have a top level pick, so it's not surprising there. Another thing, Adrian Morejon was announced as an all-star. So that is 3 relievers that the Padres sent to the all-star game. Robert Suarez, Jason Adam, Adrian Morejon, who at the time when it was announced he would be an injury replacement, had not given up a run in like 27 innings. Crazy work by him. Although, shout out to him, earned runs, right? Like, he did give up a couple runs because he was brought in after a pitcher was messed up, maybe in some extra innings games. He allowed the zombie runner. So, he's given up a couple hits here and there, but overall cannot emphasize enough how outstanding Adrian Morejon has been. And making history as the first team in Major League history, the Padres, to send 3 relievers to the All-Star game. Pretty cool stuff. I love it. But folks, I don't love it nearly as much as I love answering your questions, which is what we're going to do starting right now, because folks, I love it. I love it when you guys respond to me. Go check out Twitter/X and Blue Sky at Javipeno, JAVIIPENO. And I answer all of your comments as well on the YouTube. We check that out. The always lovely Robert Murdy writes in and says, "Hi Javier, question for Monday's show. What are you most looking forward to the second half of the season? Do you think the Padres move Dylan Cease to the trade line? Will the Padres re-sign Michael King and Luis Campusano before the season ends?" First of all, I love that you get in like 3 questions. And I appreciate it because you always write it, so that's why I answer them. I'm going to talk more about things to look for in the second half, but I say that one of my biggest things I'm looking forward to is just who the heck they get to play left field, because I think that's going to happen. And I don't think it'll be a huge name, but I do think they're going to get someone. Or at least I don't think it needs to be a huge name. I should never doubt Preller. But I do think that they'll get someone to play left field. Unless they love Tirso, unless Gavin Sheets is just going to keep playing there, which I don't think he will. We'll see. Do you think the Padres move Dylan Cease to trade deadline? No. Will the Padres re-sign Michael King, Luis Rise before the season ends? No on Rise, maybe on King, is how I feel about that, folks. But we got more to talk about, folks. We got more questions. It's not just from Mr. Rama Murdy. We got more of your questions and comments to answer, which we will do after a quick break from our sponsors. And just like that, I almost said greetings. And just like that, folks, we are back here on the Locked On Padres podcast. If you made it this far, my apologies for the late upload. My bad, folks. My bad. I guess I'm just a punk rocker. Yes, I am. Everybody, let's continue with the mailbag. Next question, coming from my guy, Zachary Shelton at MovieFanZ1720. So in sports, you always hear about championship windows and the length of time people expect a team to win a title. My question, how long do you think the window for the Padres is open? Look, good question, but it is so funny. So my take on this has been, I've been hearing that the Padres have a championship window and that's why they have to strike now since 2020. That's how long I've been hearing this. So I don't necessarily believe in it as much in baseball. And I think that there are some teams that can speak to that, right? Like look at the Washington Nationals. They won in probably the most inferior version of that era of Nationals baseball. They won a World Series. You look at the Rangers, right? Nobody expected it to happen immediately. It happened. The Astros, there's some other better examples that I can't come up with at the top of my head. So I think that this is their window, I guess, but I don't know what that means because there are things that are going to have to go their way too. You're going to have to hope that, the Dodgers probably get knocked out, that you don't have to play them again. Just any good team, things have to just break right. But as long as you're in the playoff picture, yeah, that counts as being in the championship window. And I don't think that that's closing necessarily anytime soon. I think it starts to close when Manny Machado is like not what he is anymore. And as of this year, he's shown he's still great. So I don't know. It's just hard to say in baseball. Another question though, from Robert Murdy, or at least a comment from Robert Murdy. He said, "Sorry, the All-Star game should not decide home field advantage of the World Series. It should be based on which team has better overall season records. When it did decide home field advantage, players didn't take it seriously." That's weird. I don't know if I agree with that, because my thing would be, wouldn't they take it not as seriously when it doesn't count for anything? Why would they take it more seriously now? That I don't understand that as much. But look, it's just, I don't necessarily I'm not holding my take of the All-Star game giving home field advantage as something that I think you have to have, and you're a fool if you don't have it. I just think it was a nice fun little thing that baseball had that the other sports didn't. And I don't think home field advantage is always the biggest deal in the world. Depends. I don't know. Don't tell me who's won the World Series the past few years and had home field advantage. Don't do it. Nobody look it up to try and tell me that I'm wrong. Moving on though. Let's say Troy Bywin, I believe that's how I say your name. On Blue Sky says, what does it say about the Padres to have 5 players on the All-Star team, but only 7 games over 500, not in the playoffs right now? Underachieving, bad managing, snubbing on more deserving players from other teams. Definitely not the last part. Definitely not bad managing. Maybe underachieving. I think that what it says is 2 things. One, that the Padres should be better offensively, right? They have Tatis and Manny, Jackson Merrill, Xander Bogaerts, Jake Cronenworth. You have all these guys that you should be a better offense. It shouldn't be that you're relying on a bullpen to always win you close games. That's bad, right? But 7 games over 500 isn't bad. And number 2 is that this is a good league, right? The National League is good, right? And part of this is also that there have been some teams that have been surprisingly good, right? If you look at the NL, right now, the Cardinals being 51-46 is not something that people expected. The Brewers being 56-40, not something people necessarily expected, which stinks because they're a waste of time and a waste of space who just lose in the playoffs first round every year and have no intention of actually winning or going farther. That's an unfortunate thing about them. But overall, by the way, they're now 8 games over 500, just to shout out. I just think that the NL is really good. That's what I think. I mean, even the Marlins have been a little bit better, right? So that's what I think. I think it's just things go the wrong way sometimes. And last year's team, by the way, was worse at the All-Star break. So just keep that in mind. Moving on, though, to another comment we've got. Let's see here. This one was a little bit ridiculous from Fat Dumplings. So maybe by that username you were just trolling on this one, but whatever. I swear that Merrill's sophomore slump looks outright intentional, as cheesy as it sounds. I watched him take one of the most impressive walks against the Dodgers in, I believe, Game 5 of last year's NLDS. I cannot tell you the last time I have seen just one ball in his count, and I've been to 2 games in the last week. There's no way that he is actually this bad, especially considering how well he looked to begin the season. So 2 things. Yes, he has been really bad with the hitting, right? I do emphasize with he doesn't take a lot of pitches. He had, I think it was the game against was it the Nationals? I forget which series it was. I think it was the D-back series, actually, where you had Tatis and Merrill come up and swing at both first pitches outside the zone and get these 2 ground outs and whatnot, right? You've seen that they just haven't been as good. Merrill has been really impatient. But I think it's just he's in his head. I think he's in that sophomore slump. And if you're saying, well, how is this possible? The idea that he's not trying just because he looked good initially, I got some breaking news for y'all. Guess what? You can't take everything. Don't be a prisoner of the moment. Sometimes guys look great. That does not mean de facto they get better. It is this very bizarre thing that baseball fans especially do, but frankly all sports fans do. Football fans do this too, by the way. Where everybody will be like, CJ Stroud, top 3 quarterback, right? Then he has a down year and they're like, top 12 quarterback. I'm like, give it, you know what I mean? You guys love judging just the only obvious things that you see, that you forget that there's so much that goes into this, right? This is a guy who got hurt at one point this year. This is a guy who was not expected to have so much power and then surge in the second half. This is a player who, on top of the injuries, on top of what I just said, this is a guy who has a crazy work ethic and he's always batting, and maybe that's throwing him off because he's trying to hit his way out of a slump and he's forcing it too much. And number 4, guys learn things. They get paid millions to learn things about every player. And guess what? Teams attack that. Evan Longoria looked like a Hall of Famer. At age 28, all of a sudden, couldn't hit the same way anymore, right? Guys just get worse or they get better inexplicably because that's sports, right? So never just assume anything is what I would say about that. I don't know why I went on a rant necessarily. Because we've got more comments to answer. Mr. Ash, Phoenix Ash 927, I love you, my man, commenting on Saturday's game. Machado saves the 4-4 tie, hustling to end the top of the 7th. Came up bottom of the 7th and crushed a pitch to break the tie. Anyone else remember when Machado carried us to the NLCS? Filed the 7th inning of this game in his MVP folder. I agree with 100% with your description of this team. When they're good, everything is right. Rinse, repeat playoffs. When we lose, the wheels are off. Honestly, they're the only Padres content I listen to when we lose. Appreciate you and your show, Go Padres. And I appreciate you, Ash. That's very, very kind. Thank you. And no, everybody. Yeah, a little bit. I chose the comment because it said something nice to me. But sue me. What do you want from me? Look, I think that Manny has been excellent. And frankly, has historically not been amazing in the playoffs, but yeah, that play he made, the Padres in Game 3 with the Luis Arraez and Manny Machado errors, I wasn't as mad about the latter because he made a dive and catch in foul territory. That was Jeter-esque there, I'd say. He made a great stop to turn a double play, a shot right by him, and he scooped that really well. And like you said, with the loaded right? Like him running into a weakly hit ball and getting that ball off to first base, just amazing stuff. So gotta love Manny. And I don't really fully buy the defensive advanced metrics on him. At Tony Sue 8860 says, I've been reluctant to link Tatis's troubles with PEDs because there's no proof that his bat is much slower than before the suspensions or operations. The Padres should know if those shoulder operations were successful or not, but his swing speed is much, much slower than I remember before his operations. And someone said, prisoner of the moment take. Tatis was the best player in the postseason last year at MVP level before his hit by pitch in Pittsburgh, which I thought was an interesting point to bring up. I did not think about that. When Tatis got hit in Pittsburgh, remember when they pulled him out for a second and you were like, oh no, oh God, is he hurt really badly? It's a good point that he started to fall off a little bit when that happened. Might need to investigate that. Honestly, it could be part of it. Maybe he's a little bit hurt because the numbers on Tatis are simply extraordinary. So you're kind of wondering, well, what's wrong? Mental? Is he hurt and he's playing through it? I don't know for sure. What I do know, though, he's still a good player. And I'm hoping that he can turn it out. And he has been hitting better as of late. At Nathaniel Nunez 7797 says, I don't think there's much hate towards Yu Darvish from Dodgers fans, as much as you'd think anyway. I mean, like all fans, there are going to be a few. I think many Dodgers fans love the guy, but hate the fact he's on the Padres. Like, do well unless it impacts the Dodgers in any way. Especially after the Astros cheating scandal likely led to a worse performance from you. I think you're right, man. I've been dogging Dodgers fans for just a lot of them online, like, slandering Darvish every time he does poorly against them. I get that, but I know a couple people, so this might just be like my bubble. Like, I know people who have sent a lot of, not sent, but have talked a lot of hatred. My words are weird today. Have spewed a lot of hatred towards Darvish because he blew the World Series for them. I'm talking about those people specifically. In general, I don't think this is much of a sentiment from the Dodgers fans, though. I think it's just a prisoner of my echo chamber, or my bubble, I should say. Because I'm like, what? Why are you guys hating on him only? What about Kershaw? Does he get hate? No, of course not. So yeah, probably unfair for me to keep bringing that up, and I will not here going forward because I like to be as objective as possible. At Koji_H says, I really liked your visual analysis of Jackson Merrill's batting. There are a ton of statistics, so the visual helps tie the numbers to your arguments. Yeah, I'm going to start doing that more, by the way, even for visuals that aren't all that in depth. I'm good, like, even if it's just the Baseball Savant screenshot page, I might do that. But thank you, man. Appreciate that very much. Everybody go check that out from last week's episode. And last comment comes from Gaming Guy 06, which is the type of thing you see in like a fictional movie for user-generated usernames. So I'm not trying to be mean, but do you expect this good pitching to continue through the season? To an extent, yes, but I think it is very foolish. So I think starting pitching will continue to be good because I think Darvish is going to slowly get better and Michael King's going to come back. So even if you lose some from Vasquez, if you lose some from Berger or whoever's the fifth guy, I think that that's okay. But it is foolish to expect the bullpen to just always win you 1-run, 2-run games. I think that is foolish. So that is going to depend on how much the offense gets better, right? But will the bullpen like implode second half? No. But if they give up and blow leads coming out of the All-Star break, that's just them regressing and not able to win every single game, right? That's just how the baseball season goes. So that's just my opinion. But folks, if you want to hear more opinions from your boy, feel free to follow me on Twitter/X and Blue Sky at Javipeno, JAVIIPENO. We got a big fun week of episodes because there's no games, right? We got All-Star festivities. We got the Derby. We got all the fun stuff, right? But we're still going to have episodes for you every day, including a crossover with my buddy Millard Thomas. That might be tomorrow, I'm not sure. That we're going to talk about the things to keep an eye on in the second half, the most disappointing things from the first half, and a whole bunch more, guys. So until that next time, take care. Wow. So until that next time, take care, and of course, stay faithful. My Friar Faithful homies. See you next time.